but it's Galciv 3 launch week, and we're having some fun this week. We have today Derek Paxton, who is our studio head. He's the VP of Stardock Entertainment.
Woohoo!
And so he runs all the game teams. He's the executive producer on Galactic Civilizations 3. And Derek actually comes to us via modding, basically. Derek's history is that he was working some boring bank job or something and made Fall from Heaven, the series of Fall from Heaven mods for Civilization 4, which are very well received. I personally played a ton of them before I had any idea who the heck this Joker was. But they're really cool. They're these big fantasy mods for Civilization 4. So Derek is very much from the modding community. Had a big post, a guest post on Polygon a couple weeks ago about the whole situation with Valve and Steam and Bethesda and Skyrim and paid mods. And when the internet was all on fire, Derek threw himself into the blaze for reasons unknown to the rest of us. But that's how passionate he is. So if you have any questions about modding, today is the day. We don't get Derek all that often. And this is your chance, because Derek has, I don't know, they tell me he does things. I don't really know. I think he just sits in that big fancy office and plays Servo and Galciv and Sorcerer King. That's it.
That's my job description right there.
Pretty much.
After we release I hate release days for games because I'm not allowed to change anything anymore. I'm not allowed to go in and mess with stuff. So I just walk around and bug everybody. Like, what are you working on? What are you working on? What can we do? They won't let me touch anything.
Derek, I should say, was also the lead designer of Fallen Enchantress and Legendary Heroes as well. So he hasn't completely stopped doing things since he came to Stardock, and has all these administrative things that keep him away from making games, which he constantly complains to me about. But we all have our crosses to bear. So.
But I still do get to dig in a little bit and play with Galciv's modding, and I wanted to show off some of the things that I use modding for in Galciv, and some of the things the community has done, which is really cool, and talk about what the potential is out there, because I'm really proud of the moddability in Galciv and the kind of stuff that anybody can get in and start tweaking their game.
Absolutely. We already have some great questions in the chat. If you're new here or you haven't come around to some of the Stardock streams in the past, I'd love to take your questions out of the chat. The only thing I ask is that you tag at Stardock, like you see some people doing in there already. That highlights it for me in the chat so that I can see it, because the chat tends to move pretty good. So if you have a question, please tag Stardock. Let's see. I already have a great question. How many texts can you fit in one tree before the game crashes? I know we had somebody complaining a while back that, like, oh, the game crashes, it's unstable, it's unstable, it's unstable. And then we looked at his save game and he had like 1,000 texts modded into one of the trees. And it was like, well, don't do that.
I don't know the answer to that question. I will say, though, we do not put bars on what you're able to mod, which means you can absolutely explode the game. We could have put all kinds of checks and balances and created a box that you were able to draw in if we wanted to, and that certainly would have been helpful from the stability side of, you can run all mods and we know they'll work, or they'll work 99% of the time. But we feel like if we take away your ability to do dumb things, we also take away your ability to do really creative things. So you have access to be able to go in and change things in the XML side the same as the designers do, where they can go in and create content. And that means absolutely you can crash the game, you can blow up things, you can run the game out of memory, you can do crazy stuff, because that also means you can do very brilliant stuff. One thing I wanted to point out before I start here, you have to have mods enabled. Mods aren't enabled by default for the game, so you have to come into gameplay here and game options and enable mods, and that will turn on everything we're going to get ready to do. We should have a button on enable mods that says you have to restart before it takes effect, but we don't. But you do have to restart.
It's like 3:05 and I'm already behind on questions, which is good, which means we have people that are watching. So, also FYI, we will be doing some giveaways today. I have a couple Founder Elite keys to give away to the chat, so you can look forward to that.
Awesome. Those are the Founder key, the big keys, huh? Oh,
yeah. So it's so if you're not aware, it's all expansions and DLC for the game forever, and we have like an 8-year roadmap or something already for Galciv 3. So it's a lot of stuff, and you can't get these anywhere else. They are not for sale. So, all right. A Creator says, I have some questions today when you have some time. Well, drop them in the chat. We'll get to them if we can. Jacob says, how many texts can you fit in one tree? Oh, no, sorry, I got that. He had another one, sorry. Can you create text with cross-tree dependencies?
I don't know. Let's try that. Let's go and do that. and see what happens for it. As you'll see, you're looking at my screen here. I have created a lot of both custom faction content. I want to show a little bit about what can be done in-game with custom factions today, as well as factions that I've created as mod content to do all kinds of crazy things, as well as putting in, we had a design a faction contest earlier. And some of these guys put in amazing entries, really cool stuff that I want to kind of show off their cool work and pretend like I can do cool stuff like that, but I can't. But let's go back and try to do what you're talking about. If we want, see what happens when we create a cross tree.
You guys are going to see some really hot graphics today, let me tell you. This is some cutting edge Notepad++ going on today, I suspect.
There may be some IP infringing graphics here. I'm literally showing you my build of GalCiv, and I promise you my build of GalCiv is the best build in the world. You'll see 100 player mods later on. I'll show you a game where I have 100 different players in it and how you can do that. I will show you characters from the Marvel universe and Doctor Who. All my favorite characters that I wanted to play GalCiv against are in my game. They are not owned by Stardock, so we cannot put those out. Do not sue us, Marvel, if you're out there. BBC, if you're out there. This is an homage to you because I love you.
Somebody was asking in the stream the other day for Star Wars DLC. And I said, you know what, you get on the horn with Disney and look it up, and we're on board.
That's right. We will be there. All right, let's see here.
Tons of great questions in the chat. You guys are rocking it today. Let's see. Last time I checked, there was a limit on planet traits.
I don't know. We can try that too.
All right.
The basic path to modding GalCiv is relatively simple. You can do one of two things. You can either add new files. So you see, here's my mods directory. They have my documents, my games, GalCiv 3 mods. And I have a bunch of mods that I have in here. Big Universe, Ghost, Mask, some ones that came in from some of our community members. I'm going to create a new directory here, and we're going to call it new text. Call it anything we want to. And we have to follow the file structure you see under example mod right here. And I have a forum post out there. Maybe Adam, if you could grab that, or something we could share with everybody afterwards, where we talk through how to create a mod on GalCiv that kind of walks through these points too with screenshots. But this is the structure that we want. So I put a new text ones here.
You say you have a forum post, but then it's not stickied on the GalCiv modding sub forum, so I question.
That is true. It's in the dev journals forum. It should absolutely be in the mod ones. That makes perfect sense.
Spencer usually watches these. Spencer, if you're watching this, fix it, please.
So there's two ways that you can mod it. One is you go into the actual game directories, and I can grab the tech tree for the, let's say the Iconians are the ones that we want to do this for. So I grab their file and I put it over here. And if I just call it the exact same thing, so if this is Iconian tech definitions.xml, then it's going to replace everything that was in that other file. So that's how I do replace. I don't want to use the former file for tech definitions for Iconians. I want to use this file instead. If the file name is the same, that's what it does. If I rename it anything else, so a lot of times I'll put techdefs underscore new text, the name of the mod, then it's not going to replace the current one. It'll be in addition to. So it'll read in the current file, and then it will read in this one. And you can see for some of my, like Big Universe has big faction defs, Big Universe. So this uses all the faction defs that are currently in the game, and then it also adds these special ones in. So for new text, what I want to do to see if we can do cross-tree compatibility is I'm going to replace the Iconians tech defs with the new one here. Let me come in and look at these guys. Oh, there's no Notepad++ on here.
Oh, that doesn't have Notepad++ on it?
Maybe it does. Yes, it does. It just was not the default for XML files. All right.
There you go.
Love Notepad++. You should use it.
Absolutely.
If you're doing any of this stuff. All right, so let's go down to Universal Translator. See if we can find it in here. This is their version of Universal Translator, and it has a prereq in it of the communications tech. And we should be able to put in another prereq for, let's say, what can we test with? Miniaturization. That looks good.
I could listen to you work all day, Derek. So yeah, so if you're joining us just recently here, we have Derek Paxton, who is our studio head, and he's kind of just given a modding tutorial today because it's something that we haven't really gone through extensively in any of our streams. And Derek's done some forum posts. I just pasted the link in the chat to the dev journal that Derek had made that goes through a bunch of stuff. But it's good to do it live too and get it in front of people and let you check it out. We had some shout outs to VIM in the chat and complaining that Notepad++ is some newfangled, WYSIWYG baby editor.
VIM. Oh.
Oh, man.
The thing I really like in this new version of Notepad is I can do things like this, and it starts to fill in what it thinks I may be looking for. So I put the OP in there, and I already see option there, and I challenge your VIM to do that. We'll see. All right, so if my text is right, and I'm just doing this ad hoc, I think there's 2 tech prereqs on here. It requires both communications and xeno-industrialization. So let's see how the game handles it. It very well may blow up. I don't know of any place in the game where we have 2 prereqs for one tech. So
we don't have any AND gates.
Yeah. So I don't know what it's going to do here. But this is the beautiful thing about modding. You try things and see what happens.
I guess we have OR gates for all the specializations because those are defined as their own techs within the XML.
Yeah, those are kind of a special case, though, the way we handle specializations in there. They're not.
True.
All right, so we put that in the Iconian tree. So I'm going to grab somebody, the Iconians.
I'm kind of obsessed with the Iconians right now. My current game is the Iconians.
I love the Iconians.
They're so good. Let's see. So many questions, and I apologize. I haven't even started. Really started them. When mapping tools are fully released, will there be scenario support theoretically, so that theoretically people could make their own campaigns, etc., via mods?
Yeah, absolutely. All the stuff that Paul is doing right now, making the tutorial and making the campaign, is all XML driven. Triggers are set in XML, so we can have all those conversation pop-ups happen.
Stuff are in there too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Those are. You of course need a programmer if you're going to create a new trigger for something that isn't handled in the tutorial or the campaign. So a programmer has to create the trigger for things like if I move, within one space of this planet, or if I destroy the ship, or whatever Paul's already doing. But those, once the trigger is there, then you can go ahead and set that. There's nothing on the code side for them. So I could definitely see cases where you may want to have a trigger that does something that no programmer has ever created a system for. Like, I want a trigger to pop up when I research this tech. There probably isn't a trigger for that, so that one may be harder to do. But all the triggers that we have in there, you can absolutely create your own campaign map for.
Very cool. Well, Paul's in here.
Hey, Paul.
Ascension gates.
Yeah.
Are ends.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh, I didn't know Paul was watching.
It will work. It won't display right in the text tree.
Oh, okay. We will see if he's right. I guess I better stop talking about Paul. I didn't know he was watching.
He sees you when you're sleeping.
That's right. All right, so we see that Xenocommerce has, let's take the check tree here and see what we have. I have a universal translator on it. It is not letting me research it right now. It doesn't show me anywhere.
What was the mod that you made? It was what was the prereq that you added?
Oh, I added Xenocommerce. Let's check here, make sure that's true. I added Xeno-industrialization as a prereq to Universal Translator. So Xeno-industrialization, so it has 2 prereqs right now. It is, oh, and look at that. When I click on Universal Translator, it knows it has to go do Xeno-industrialization before it's allowed to do it.
So it totally works.
We have cross-tree compatibility, just like Paul said, isn't displayed very well in the UI.
All right.
But I'm really impressed that the pathing is working. So it knows when I click this to tell me, all right, well, I'm going to go to this other tree and I'm going to start researching this other thing.
It doesn't show the under leads to under Xeno-industrialization. It doesn't show under leads to.
So let's go look at Xeno-industrialization and see if it does. Where is Xeno-industrialization at? Right here. If I click on it, you're absolutely right. It does not show Universal Translator under here.
So you'd have to what you'd probably have to do is just go in and mod that into the description.
Yep.
If you wanted to make that mod just to make it a little bit more playable and less confusing to your players.
Absolutely. But
for now, and hopefully we'll get it better.
Yeah,
slightly more robust support at some point. But
let me show you, walk everybody through, and we can hit questions as you're doing it too.
Yeah,
but while you're looking at that stuff, I'm just going to go through one of the easiest ways that we have that you can create custom content in GalCiv, and that's just through the custom faction creator, which already has a lot of amazing functionality. You don't even have to open up Notepad. You don't have to get any kind of editor. You don't have to get your hands dirty. And there's lots of amazing things that you can do in here. So what I did from the main screen, create custom race. I imagine a lot of people have already done this. We put in lots of art for you to use. I love this guy. Nobody else likes him. That's the foreground I want to use, the background I want to use.
Isn't that one of your Fall from Heaven guys?
No, he's from Greek mythology. There's this, nobody gets my references. There's, Hera has this guard, Argus, I think is his name. And he has 100 eyes all over his body, and he's one of the guards that Hera uses to keep an eye on her philandering husband. So I told the concept artist, make a guy based on Argus, and that's what he came up with, which is cool. He just looks a little bit hokey. I think that's why nobody likes him. He's like buff weightlifter dude. He doesn't look like he should be ruling a space race, but I like him.
Let's see. A creator asks, what do you think about building turn 1 a transport full of scanners so that on a huge map you have 24 vision range for 2,000 credits? So just rushing a cargo hull with a bunch of sensors on it. It removes exploring. You can easily colonize, take the pragmatic 3 constructors, and blah, 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 blah. That's a little bit more of a Paul question. Paul is very much the game design and balance guy as the lead designer in GalCiv. But I mean, everybody has thoughts on it. Like there's a big thread full of people kind of going back and forth. And some people love sensor boats, or sensor crates, as I tend to call them, because they sail very ungracefully through the void. Some people really like them, and I didn't like them at first, but I kind of like them now because they kind of make it a little bit easier to deal with the exploration side of the game, which is really large in GalCiv 3 because our maps are so huge. Even medium maps are very, very big.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I don't hate sensor boats.
I don't know that sensors was ever intended to be cumulative like that. It was supposed to add up all those sensor buffs. So it feels a little bit broken to me. Like I wouldn't mind having, here is a sensor, here's like 3 levels of sensors that don't add up to, that aren't cumulative with each other. And then here is a set of sensor boosts which dramatically improve that. And if you put the biggest sensor with the biggest booster on there, then you get up to exactly the ranges we're talking about here. I would just like to get that more into let the designer have a little bit more controls in the bounds rather than be, oh, if I put sensor on there, I get out to these huge ranges, and that wasn't really the intent of anybody.
And it's not turn 1 either, because you can bury that in the tech tree a little bit.
Yeah, those greater blocks, and I can get to that kind of stuff. Yeah. And even if it did all unlock relatively early in the tree, we have some control over it. I feel like it is a little bit of an exploit, not a big thing, and I'm a modder. I'm all for change whatever you want to have fun. You're gonna, after watching this, you're gonna know how to go in and give 30 sensors to every ship you own just as a base. So have fun.
Absolutely. Let's see. You talked about a Mac version yesterday. When will the Mac version come out? Brad has been very vocal in his support of Vulkan. I don't know if you've been keeping track of the promises Brad's been making for your studio, Derek. But Brad very much wants to get GalCiv running on Vulkan, which would basically mean with a very tiny amount of additional work that it would work on Mac and Linux. So we definitely want to support those. We know that we have players out there who primarily have Mac or Linux boxes as their primary machines, and we want you guys to be able to play our game too. We want everybody to be able to play our game. We don't have a time frame for that though. Nothing to announce on that regard. I mean, sooner than later, right? Like, probably not talking about like 2020, but sometime between now and 2020. There's the time frame.
I like how they lock you down.
Hey, I'm the one who gets yelled at for promising things on the stream, so, and fairly so, because I'm not the one who has to build them. But anyway.
So what I'm in now is I'm just setting some traits and abilities for my custom faction that I put in here. I want them to be able to colonize Tier 1 Extreme Worlds because they look really big. Looks like they could live anywhere they wanted to. And let's make them, they get an ideology point every time they invade a planet. We already saw what you can do to set up the leader and what he looks like. We went through all those options there. The appearance of the ships is so much fun to play with. I lose hours here.
So one of the questions we get a lot is, how can players define their own ship styles?
Oh, okay. I will show you that next. One of the player mods that I have loaded on here has designed his own ship style, and it is awesome.
Nice.
It is really cool. And we'll look through exactly what he did to set this up. I love these Iconian ships so much.
I do too. What was it? Brad made a Kilrathi race the other day on the stream that was Iridium ships with inverted Drengen.
Yeah.
And they actually looked really cool. That looks horrible. Very kind of gross.
This is another argument that we have with our artists about the fact that you can create such horrible, ugly things in here. So if you see anything ugly in here, it's probably because I made it. I put these bubblegum colors in here because I'm like, somebody's going to think that's really cool.
I would totally do that.
So I put those in, and they were like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
The other thing...
Fluffy unicorns with pink lavender ships just terrorizing the galaxy. That's my jam.
That's right. And I put in these materials. So all of the materials that you have here have some basis in physically based lighting. They're all realistic reflectivity levels, specular levels. And then I come along and I noticed that when you're a modder, you see the reflectivity levels that the game allows are 1 to 10. And I noticed, I could set that value at 100 and it does really cool things. And this makes the artist cry. But I put them in here just so when people are messing with things, they can create a series of ships that are just crazy if they want to. So you come down to, so you can get ships that look like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I have not spent a ton of time messing around with this. But
I just spend way too much time in here. This is where I start playing with a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay.
Angry Joe spent a full hour on the faction creator on his stream of Galciv
Wow.
on release day. That was pretty impressive. So let's see. Saw some people saying that I was kind of quiet compared to Derek. Sorry about that. I turned myself up here, and I'll make sure that I stay on the mic like a good MC.
One of my favorite things to do with custom factions, I haven't seen this done anywhere else. I may be wrong. You guys chime in if you know another game that does this, is it allows me, not only do I create my custom race, but I can set some things in the way the AI plays this race if you want to. So I say, listen, I want these guys to be, they look like bad guys, so they're going to generally prefer malevolent as their ideology options. I want them to be cruel and cultural and aggressive. And these are tags. When Brad's going in and coding the AI, he has the AI act differently based on these personality types. So if you create one and you give them these traits, it's going to play, if you create 10 custom factions, they will play differently than each other on the AI side because of what you set in their personality traits here and what you put over here in how they prioritize things. So we're going to say military and logistics are high for them. These guys don't care too much about tech, so put that down at the bottom. And we like wealth for them. So that is how we want them to prioritize their goals. And this will dramatically affect, this doesn't affect the way that you play them. As a human, you can play whatever you want to. You can play them benevolent. You can choose whatever you're going to do. But it does dramatically change the way that the AI plays them.
Sure. Had a follow-up question on the Mac thing. Will the system requirements be the same? I would expect that they'll broadly be the same.
Yeah.
They might even be a little bit lower because Vulkan is a lower level API. But that I don't know how much performance gain we'll be able to get out of using an advanced AI with this engine.
Yeah.
That's something that Nathan would have to answer after a month of being elbows deep in Vulkan. But I would expect them to be broadly similar.
Yeah, it is kind of new territory for us. We do have Off-World Trading Company out on Mac right now, and that's going very well. We've been really surprised to see the amount of sales there. So we know there's customers out there that want to play those games. So we want to do more on Mac, but this would be the first time that we have an engine that we have developed that we're porting over to Mac once we have access to the Vulkan API.
Right.
So that'll be a new thing for us. So we'll have to check that out as we move forward. Here we see the new race, the custom faction, all created with his abilities and his traits and everything just set up without having to go out and do any XML at all.
Oh, good old leader name. The leader of the Argus.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Leader name leader.
That's another thing people have been asking for is an edit button for the custom race.
I got your answer.
Yes.
We have it.
Oh.
It's right here. It's right in front of us. Do you
Is
not
it?
see the edit button? This is a conversation I had with the developers developers are not always about user experience. They're more about the technical things. And the developers would tell you there's absolutely an edit button right in front of you right there. It's called copy. And you copy, and then you can change whatever you want to. And you come in and change your leader name to Bob. And this is a safer way of doing it. Now I have it copied, and then if I don't want that last one there, I can delete that.
Okay.
And there is my edit.
Okay.
And it's a safe way of editing. And then we explained to them that user experience, that's not coming across to most players, but it is intentional. It's not ideal, but they kind of implemented it that way so you could be safe about it. You can make your copy, change whatever you want to, make sure you like it, and then delete the old copy if you want to.
Sure.
So all the functionality is there and ready for you to do exactly what you do in an edit process, but I agree, it's not as simple as it could be.
Well, and it's just not obvious, and you can easily miss that copy button.
Yeah.
And it's a user experience thing. Absolutely, it's like engineers versus designers almost a little bit. Yep. Which is a struggle that every studio faces, I feel like, every day when they're making video, whatever kind of software they're making. Let's see, will we be able to mod sound? I have no idea how we store the sound and how moddable that is.
I believe so. One thing that we've done here, so let me show you one of the custom factions. So this is a custom faction here. He created his own ship design. So this
is one of our faction contest honorable or finalists, rather.
Absolutely.
I recognize the name.
Yeah, this was my favorite of them, to be honest with you.
I was
I'll show you why
actually
here in a second.
the guy who won. I was glad that he was the guy who won. I thought he had the coolest faction.
Oh, awesome.
They were all awesome. But,
the thing I like so much, I know, is the thing I like so much about this one is look at these custom ships. So he created his own ship style. He created his own range of ships.
Did he define a new material for their cockpits there? Because that is like, did he just strap an emissive onto it, or what is that?
Let's check and see exactly what he did. That's a great question.
While you're looking, we had some questions about 101 in the chat. 1.01, we were hoping to get it out today, but it'll be this week. I was talking to the developers about that earlier.
Yeah.
So 101 will be this week, and I'll have a bunch of bug fixes and stuff like that. I forget, did custom factions and multiplayer make it into 101? Do you remember that? It did? Okay, that's one that people have been asking for. And,
the big two things, crash fixes, stuck turn fixes. So we've been very successful, lots of sales, lots of people playing the game, which we love to see. What that means is we do get a lot of support tickets that come in. So we're going through all those, and our priority is crash fixes, hangs, and the only new feature we're looking at is we really want to get those custom factions into multiplayer games because people are really looking for those.
Well, it's like we have this whole awesome custom faction thing, and then you can't play them in multiplayer.
We were getting close to release day, to be honest with you, and there was a list of things that weren't working in multiplayer, and I said, okay, let's get this down to, we need multiplayer to work, we need it to be solid, let me take this stuff off your plate, so don't worry about these things, custom factions being one of those. Concentrate on making sure the rest is stable and working, so the developers had something to focus on, and hammered that out, make sure that worked, and that was as reliable and stable as possible, and then with full well knowing, okay, then we'll put the game out, get people playing, and then we'll start adding those other features back in so people can have fun with it. So you had asked, one thing that was, when this faction was originally submitted, you had to put these ship designs in your own directory, in the actual base game directories, not in the mod directories. We fixed that problem. So right now, everything you're seeing is running correctly out of my GalCiv local documents directory. Gotcha. So let's see what he changed here. So these are all of the files that he submitted. So it's a pretty extensive mod doing lots of cool stuff. He has a new tech defs file for his faction. He has the new faction defs for it. He has ship class defs. I should open this in Notepad++. This is out there on our forums. You can download this mod. So if you're looking to create your own mod, this is a great place to to start.
Because I know where that is. Hold on. Find the link and drop it into chat.
All right.
Here we go.
Yeah, look, even that shipyard looks pretty awesome. I'll show you a cheat key here. If you hit your grave key, if you know what a grave key is.
I'd like to say tilde.
It's not the tilde, though. It's the grave key.
You're a grave key.
The tilde is what you hit if you hit shift in that key.
Oh, fine. Goodness.
But I unlocked all of the ships in the game. That was my little test ship. Okay, that one's not from his mod. That's my own crappy ship. But yeah, just such cool designs. They very much remind me of a very steampunk kind of look for some reason.
And those work as blueprints and everything for all the like.
This ship is hung like a horse.
Oh, jeez.
All right.
But these are working in with all the regular blueprints and all that kind of stuff, and so it's very much it is a ship style, just as we would define it for a race that we made ourselves, correct?
Yep, because he implemented it as a custom ship style. If I go in here and do new game, and I'm going to customize. I'm going to edit my Argus faction through
With
our
the copy
hokey
button.
with our copy button. I can come in here and choose a ship style, which is the Kuja style, which is for
that's
this
awesome.
faction. The default ship it's using is still the same Altarian because he didn't put a default ship in there. But if I go start a game as them, delete my old one so I don't get confused. I should see all of all the custom ships that were made.
Nice.
We're looking to get Steamworks integrate. So yeah, so you see these are the ships that he made.
They look kind of horrifying with that texture set,
Yeah.
material set, but you
know. We are looking to integrate Steamworks into this to make it so much easier so you don't have to go out to the forums and find something and download it and install it, do all that kind of stuff. So you can go out and find ship styles. You can go out and find custom factions, which you can pull in and all that to make this whole process easier.
People are making fun of me in the chat, and I don't even know why because I haven't been paying attention to chat. Oh, well. Let's see. For tech trees, when branching out from a researched tech, how many branches can you have? For example, many of the branches currently have 3 branches. So, like, how many can you have one? I think the question is, can you have one tech that then leads to like 4 or 5 or 6 or however many in that same tree?
Okay, I don't know. Let's find out.
Let's see. Does the AI cheat with respect to Fog Wars? There seems to be a controversy over this. It gets some cheats as it gets higher in level. I believe the top level cheats away the fog, but certainly normal and gifted do not. I know because I actually talked with Brad on that very topic this morning. He's talking about he's got some ideas for the AI that I mean he's always got ideas for the AI. But there's some stuff that going in the next couple patches that should alleviate any concerns around that as well.
I think even on the higher levels, there's a certain time frame before it's allowed to see the rest of the map. The problem was, as I understand it, that they were going for faraway planets that they shouldn't have known anything about, from turn 1, and that was damaging to the human players. But that's my understanding of it.
Let's see. Oh yes, people are pointing out that the Bink 2 format used for the animated races is a premium license. Maybe you could add an open source format. Yeah, we'd love to. The problem is that Bink 2, it has to support transparency to be used in all the places that we use that file, all the places that we use that video. And Bink 2 supports transparency, and Bink 1, which is open source, does not, which is why we use Bink 2. It's something that we get a lot of requests on. I know that. It's something we think about, but I don't know that we have anything to really be able to announce in that regard right now. But yes, it does totally suck, and we apologize. But the static images are really easy to do. It's just a ping. I might even take a JPEG, but I always suggest ping because ping is lossless. So you should use ping in general anyway, unless you're building giant like website backgrounds or something that you're worried about loading times.
Here's one of my favorite, one of the little guys I made in an evening, the Ghosts of Abaddon, which my view for them was that they were a part of a advanced civilization and they just became very decadent. And because of that, they just spoiled all of as their world crumbled, as they used up all their world's resources, they just ignored it to the last possible moment. Now their world is destroyed, and they have put all of their resources into creating 3 colony ships that are going to try to go out there and find a new home world for them. So it's kind of interesting that made for a cool new story in the Galciv universe. And I'll show you the actual XML that you needed to do this was relatively simple.
Nice.
All that you have here is, that's the actual game directory.
Well, people are getting squirrely because we haven't given anything away yet.
Oh.
I said I was going to give stuff away.
Okay,
so I'm going to do that. The side effect of this is it's going to totally nuke the chat, so you're probably going to have to re-ask your questions, for which I apologize. But, oh, hey, here's an interesting point. Before we get to the giveaway, you can blame Giscard UK for this, because you raised an interesting point in chat, and it's derailing me. Workshop has a 1 gig limit for all mods uploaded by a single user, which sucks if you're a keen modder with several large mods to your name. Something has to be removed to support new games. That's interesting.
I didn't know that.
I wonder if there's a workaround where you could put the mod and we could have our own kind of external mod loader that like it uploads into our system, and then the mod on Workshop is small because it's just pointing toward something that we're hosting somewhere. I don't know. That might blow up our bandwidth.
Yeah.
It's a popular mod.
I suspect that's something that we'd have to work with Valve on. I'm not sure what that doesn't seem like a very tenable solution long term.
I know 1 gig is not a lot.
Yeah. Valve is really onto customer created content.
Yes.
This is a big deal for them.
For sure.
They've been here at Stardock talking about how important it is and how they want us to, support that. So I know this is a big deal for them. That I wouldn't be surprised to see that limit go away or them to make a change on their side
But in the meantime, that does totally suck. But we'll do what we can. All right. Here's how the giveaway works. This is for a Founders Elite key. This is the game and all expansions and DLC forever. It is not for sale anywhere. This is pretty much the only place you can get it. You are going to type something in the chat. You're going to type it once and only once. I will get annoyed if I keep seeing you, if I see you type it like 15 times. That will not enter you 15 times into the giveaway. And you have to type it exactly as I put it in, or the add-on that I use will not pick it up. So if you try to make a clever addition to it or whatever, that's fine and that's clever and go nuts, but it won't enter you in the giveaway if you do that. So once and only once. Type this. Go. I will roll this in a minute. All right, Derek, please continue.
All right. So we're looking at the only file, I believe. Let me check to make sure I'm not lying, for these guys. They have just a new faction def. It does not use the just factiondefs.xml, so I'm not replacing the faction defs file. I'm creating a new file that's going to append. And nothing in core, no new graphics, no new text yet. So this is literally the only file that was put in for this mod. So one file, it is 61 lines long.
Oh.
And it just is the definition for this faction. It gives their name, some details about them, but the big change is here. Normally, for most faction defs, you would see a colony ship, a scout, and a
survey.
Thank you, survey. For them, you don't. They've put, again, their backstory is they put all their resources into these 3 ships, and they're trying to go out and find a world here. I've set their race traits and their personality traits here. I gave them a unique call sign. They call their ships arcs. Of course, pointed to the images that I want them to use, and set up the materials and everything for their ships, what I wanted them to have. The big change here is their homeworld star system is this dead system, which is a horrible, horrible starter world. So they don't have a world anywhere near as nice as anybody else out there. But that's it. This is just XML. And because of that XML, let's go ahead and start a game as them and see what we got. I made them forgettable. They are, after all, a dying species. Observant. I figured this helps them go out and find new worlds. We want to get their sensor range out as far as possible because it's really key to their success. They'd be able to find a new world. I boosted their range, again, to try to help them find that initial world and gave them more moves. So everything that they're focused about is to try to get to a new world for their species. They're knowledgeable. They start with the location of everybody else's home world, so I have to start there and gave them some free defenders.
Very nice. I rolled the giveaway. Pale Magenta wins. Pale Magenta still has to put something in the chat so I know that you're not a bot. Because there are such things, sadly, as Twitch bots that roll around to try to steal giveaways from more deserving people.
Oh, it's crazy.
Very sad. So Pale Magenta, put something in the chat so I know that you're not a bot. If not, I will re-roll it. Somebody else will get it. All right, please go on.
All right. So it really matters, especially for these guys, what my star systems, what my game settings are. Of course, the ghosts love to play on worlds where you have abundant planets for them to find. That makes their job a lot easier. The worst thing for playing this faction, or the most dangerous thing, and some of the most interesting games I've had with them, is when they only find one world out there and their other colony ships are really digging and just are finding star system after star system of dead worlds. So you can modify your chances there by coming in and tweaking the settings. I personally don't mind that there's game settings where one faction is better or another faction is worse. I think it just allows you to tweak the game that you want to have. Pirate bases are marked off here. We'll put them back to uncommon. Research rate to fast. Game pacing, very fast. It's our production. Oh my gosh, galaxy difficulty. We'll put it back to normal. All right, minor race is rare. And we will start a game. See what it looks like with these guys.
Very cool. All right. Tons of questions again in the chat. Oh my goodness. Have you been inspired by Master of Orion? Is there a strategy designer in the last 20 years that hasn't been inspired by Master of Orion? I think is possibly a better question. Let's see. Here's a creative solution to the Bink 2 issue. Maybe you could have a submission system where mods with X number of forum votes can have their raw files rendered by us folks. That might actually work. That's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, I did get a hold of the Miles guys. They're very nice. We really love working with them, to ask them if there's any way we could get to let our modders have access to that, and did not agree to that. So.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to give away stuff for free.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
true.
a shame.
That's true. I can't blame them for that, I guess.
I mean, it's the business. You gotta make that paper.
So this is our faction. We have a horrible world with only one spot available on it. We have 3 colony ships, which are made of this ridiculously shiny metal that I assigned to it, which I love and our artists absolutely hate. But I think it looks really neat. So I have no survey ship to grab these anomalies with because these people are all about, listen, we need to find a homeworld or we die. We have no scout ships to look, so I am just going to send my colony ships out and hope I find something.
What is the thing with their homeworld? It blows up after a few turns or something?
No, it's just horrible.
Oh, it's
literally
crappy.
a class 2 dead world.
Oh, funny.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's useless.
Gotcha.
All right.
Let's see.
So I'm going to start boosting my range, going into these techs. I can only place 1 improvement on this planet, so I don't care about.
It's horrible.
I know, it really is.
You really got to just. I think you're getting a phone call.
I am.
That is an aggressive ringtone.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. Good question from Creature of Existence, who I believe is one of our ship contest finalists. Could you make a post showing us what types of programs are useful to modding Galciv 3?
Oh, that's a great idea.
That is a really good idea. So,
Notepad++ is so good. Yes, Photoshop is expensive, but
well, the GIMP isn't terrible. I mean, even Paint.net you can do a lot with, and it's a lot lighter weight than the GIMP.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should totally make a post like that. That's a good idea. Let's see. A creator has more Paul questions, but that's okay. I know a couple of them. Any way of adding a sound or some kind of alert for when one's turn starts in multiplayer? I think that's an excellent idea. That actually came up in the stream yesterday. I was playing multiplayer and streaming with some guys, and yeah, they were very like, these are hardcore multiplayer guys, and they're like, you have to put this in the game. I was like, no, it's a good idea. I mean, I don't get to tell Paul what to do, but that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, no, that is great. Oh, and it looks like I may have found what is this? A class 9 that will do. I got some thulium out here, but no planets.
Well, there's something habitable there, though. That looks habitable.
Oh, you're right.
There you go. Oh,
yeah,
this is
13.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
So this should be a nice setup for us.
Let's see. When will you add giant miniature space hamsters to the game? I may have to do that. That's an excellent idea.
We had one of the mods, one of the custom factions we had put in was little space hamsters, and they were very cool. The thing I loved about it most was they put custom dialogue in for their space hamsters. So when you meet them and talk to them, they talk to you as space hamsters, which made it a lot of fun.
Excellent.
That's one of the nice things that I like about the system is it does allow you to do things like that.
Totally. Will it ever be possible to edit custom factions in Notepad? Currently, they're an uneditable faction file. Yeah, we bake it into a faction file right now.
Yeah. We have the new edit option that we just talked about earlier, the crappy one. No, we don't. The reason we don't do that is the game actually doesn't read XML. The game reads everything in binary files. So when you start the game, what it does is it takes all the XML that's out there and it puts it in a binary file, and that's what the game uses. So if we had it write that out to XML, you would have to restart the game in order to rebuild that binary for it. That's why it writes it in the native language of the game. We could do things around it. We could have it write it out in both formats so that we export it in the binary that the game uses dynamically and put out the XML file so you could tweak it and change things if you want to. But it's nothing that we've done so far.
Okay.
We kind of assumed that people would, most people would be fine with the custom faction stuffs in there, and then maybe 10% of people would really want to get into modding, and they just want the power to get into Notepad and be able to change anything there, and we didn't. Right. Making that step easier really wasn't a concern so much as making sure the people who were in XML could do as much as possible there.
All right. Let's see.
I founded a planet and got a benevolent point, and I'm going to spin it on a colony ship.
Everybody loves the colony ship.
That's right.
Malevolent feels a little gimpy because you don't get the colony ship or the constructors.
You want that?
Getting a lot of
that frigate there, though. You don't feel like that's as useful early game?
Yeah, it's not because you still can't invade anybody until you get to invasion.
Yeah.
And it's not like the frigate is strong enough to go blow up their star bases.
You know what it's really good at, though?
What is it really good
Taking out other people's colony ships.
That's true. That's true.
I had the most horrible... Actually, this was an AI fix that Brad, curse him, fixed. He always spoils my fun. where there was this beautiful 23 class planet I found in the corner of our solar system early on in the game, but I didn't have, it was way far away from me. So I rushed a colony ship, but it was gonna be like 17 turns to get to it. But I had the free frigate that I parked right beside it, and anybody who came close to it, and the AI was rushing for it. This was a couple builds ago when the AI could see the entire map, and everybody was flooding toward it. Every time a colony ship came around, I declared war, wiped it out, then went back to them and said, how about peace now? I'll give you 50 credits. And they would always give it to me, and I kept it for myself. But the AI won't let you get away with that crap anymore.
That's amazing. Let's see. Steam has a pop-up notification system for turns, I think. Not the way we're using it. That's something we have to do on our own. Let's see.
We do have the sound for your own turn, so it shouldn't be that hard to add it to multiplayer.
Right. Let's see. There should be a tab where we can view our fleets and not just single ships. As a matter of fact, that's being built. I don't know if it's literally being built as we speak, but it's pretty high on the list. To basically what'll happen, what Paul was talking about was that the ship list over on the right there will default to fleets, and then you'll be able to click a little plus or something to expand it out to see all the ships that are in that fleet.
We went back and forth on that so much because at first the plan was it was just going to be fleets here. That's all I wanted. I don't manage them on a per ship basis, but the problem was that, well, I need to know where my transport is. Where's my transport at? Or I need to know where my colony ship's at. And if it's in a group with more ships, I just don't want to see, I don't want to be poking, clicking on them and looking, all right, where is it? So I think having this default to the fleets would be awesome, and then put some icons on them to say there is a transport in here, or there's a colony ship in there. That's really the only things I really care about.
Fair enough.
That worked pretty nicely.
So in star names text.xml, what is the point of the label column? It seems redundant. It might in fact be redundant. That wouldn't terribly surprise me. I mean, there's like weird orphan stuff in the XML that is just, designs that got iterated on or removed. So like they exist in the XML, but the game doesn't actually read them.
Yeah.
That happens anytime you do any of this.
Yeah, a lot of these systems went through a couple versions of iteration where it was implemented one way, and then we went back and changed it so that the data was moved in some cases, and just like you say, Adam, it wasn't moved in others.
Yep, and that just happens. And there's a lot of like little XML things that are a little bit off right now that we're working on changing that everybody brings up in every friggin' stream, and it's like, we know, and we apologize, and we're fixing them.
Like what? What's the common one that you see?
Well, there's stuff like the Promethean Pleasure Park says it gives morale, but it gives money.
Yeah.
It gives a +3. I actually like it as it is. I'm going to be sad when it gets fixed. Cool, because it gives +3 morale. So you build that and an entertainment park, and you get 6 raw income, which is actually awesome.
Yeah.
And then you get +3 to your approval. So like even a crappy entertainment center is like +5 morale or something. Yeah. So it actually, like, I love the Pleasure Park. And I don't know. To me, it makes sense because people are coming and they're spending their money at the pleasure park. Yeah. So you're getting gross income. It makes sense. Darn it.
I noticed the community is a lot more hesitant to report issues that are things being overpowered than they are for things that are just broken and not working. Because every once in a while I find something so like, this has been broken for months and nobody said anything. The community's like, yes, we know.
Oh, do your ghosts have a bunch of extra sensors on their colony ships too?
No. Are you thinking this range is? Oh, they have I gave them that trait for +2 sensor range.
Extra vision. Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Can you mod the galaxy sizes? I'm afraid that insane might not be big enough for me.
Oh my God.
Well, you crazy for one thing. I don't think that's something that's really terribly moddable. I don't believe. Or am I wrong?
It probably is. Let's see here. Ship size. But we do not recommend it.
Right.
Insane size is almost 500,000 tiles. 500,000 tiles.
432,000. So I know because I did the comparison between that and other strategy games, and like other major strategy games are about just under 10,000 for their biggest map size.
Wow.
Insane is insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. And you think, well, 432, I mean, these are computers. They can handle big numbers. Why is that a problem? Isn't it just, kind of like making the chessboard larger? Well, every tile has a lot of values associated with it, such as who has visibility within it, what is the influence rating that every player has in it. So when we go and we play and we wanted the game to support 100 different players, which is also crazy. But since the game engine can support 100 different players, and it can support 432,000 tiles, that means in every tile, I have to be able to store 100 different values for all the influence levels that could be set in that tile. So there is gigs of memory being set aside just to do that. And look at the memory requirements for the game. it doesn't have much to do with what you're seeing on screen. It's keeping track of all that data that's out there and saving that all into a save file and pulling it back in. Even if it's, I only have 8 people in this game, it's still, the engine has to have the capability to set up the data structures, to set up the memory pools to be able to handle those larger sizes.
Well, and there's stuff like, all the pathfinding that goes on when the AI decides, oh, I should go do something over here. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot that goes on in there. The AI gets not necessarily more complex because it's running the same routines, but more, there's just more data being crunched and more factors being considered and all that kind of stuff. So did you find the mod for it? Did you find the value for map size?
Oh, no, I
sorry, we got distracted. It's easy to do when you're streaming.
Brad found an issue with 101 where he noticed that the game was taking a long time between turns on very large maps.
Oh, people have been whining about that on the stream for a while, yeah.
And
by whining, that we appreciate your bug reports.
The truth comes out. But what he found was the pirates don't have any range. Pirates can go anywhere on the map.
Right.
And that's by intent. They're supposed to be able to go anywhere on the map. They're not supposed to be located within any borders. But the problem was because they could go anywhere on the map, they were pathfinding all the way across those 432,000 tiles. That's every pirate ship you have out there. So you put your insane map and abundant pirates out there, and you will drag your turns to a crawl.
Yep.
So Brad did some fixes for that. He was watching all the measurements and put in some fixes, actually handed out a test fix to somebody to verify that it took care of it, and that'll be significantly better in 101.
Very nice. Will using a modded custom race disqualify one from the metaverse, similar to if one used mods in Galciv 2, one couldn't play a metaverse game?
Right now, it does not. There is no check for that. I suspect there will in the future be a check for that.
Yeah.
When people start to take advantage of that. We trust you all to be fair and balanced.
No, Derek, my race is just the best at everything, and you just need to understand my creative vision for...
Yeah, it's a hard balance. We want everybody to be involved with the metaverse, and we want everybody to be able to make whatever they think is fun. And if it's fun for you to give them the pluses in every column, then that's great. Go, that's your game. You paid money for this game. We want you to be able to play it however you want to play it. Right now, we just didn't put in the check there to see if there's anything modded that was going on. But we probably will in the future. We also don't have the check for just using cheat keys and getting into the metaverse. So you could just cheat yourself some stuff, and I'm sure get your score up there if you want.
I know that we're reporting a has cheated flag.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's actually tied currently to...
It doesn't.
Man, you're giving away all of our secrets, Derek.
Sorry.
Jeez.
So this is map setup defs. This is the wrong thing. The number we want...
Map size defs.
There you go. I think this is it.
I bet you're right.
So let's see here.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing the sector size.
Insane. All right.
Oh, my goodness. If you really want to crash your game, you can make insane even more insane.
Oh, my gosh.
Like I said, we don't necessarily recommend it, and we're probably not going to spend a lot of time on your support ticket when it crashes.
That's right. And we will give best effort supports to mods, which means in the modding forum, please, not in the support forum, in the modding forum, please post your issues. We count on the community. This is the way it was when I was modding Civ 4. The community helped each other out so much in helping. Hey, this isn't working. This is crashing. What have you tried? So help each other out, please. You really have just been given the tools, carte blanche, to do what you want. We will be monitoring those forums, and we'll try to help out. And if we see issues, like we noticed for the one ship style one that we looked at earlier, it didn't work unless he put the ships into the main game folders. We got those fixed, so we'll get some fixes around those things.
And there was a ton of stuff on LH, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that the community found like XML errors and like, hey, Derek, I found this, because you were very active in the LH forums.
Oh, yeah.
And you would just be like, oh, that's great, and just pull it in and put it in the next patch.
Same thing for Galciv. It has been phenomenal. As soon as we put in modding support, we started getting all of these bug reports into support where they came with the fix. It was literally this, the Promethean Pleasure Palace is wrong, and this is the XML that you have to change to fix it. And it was fantastic. Let me just zip through those issues, get all those fixes in and checked, and it was fantastic. I had one yesterday that was literally, there was a space at the end of a word that I never would have caught, because the tools we use internally, we don't come into Notepad too much and do things. We use an editor to do it. And in the editor, you can't see a space after there because there's no closing tag. So
it wasn't cleaning up its input properly on it, and the space was screwing it up?
Yeah, just there was a space there that had been entered on it. I would have stared at that for an hour and not realized, why isn't this working? And have them say, here's the XML, here's what's wrong before and after. There's a missing space there. Was fantastic.
Nice.
So modders have been great at that too.
Is it possible to have a planet change its look due to some event? In my case, I want to change it when a specific improvement has been built.
No, not any way that I know of when a specific improvement has been built. No, there is. We are looking at the potential to do that in the future. Paul wants that. One of the cool things in the campaign is the planet Earth has a shield around it, so we'd like to be able to do so you can build something in your planet, so it does put the shield around it. That kind of stuff is something Paul's looking for.
That'd be sweet if you like built some crazy factory and there's like the atmosphere gets all like polluted looking.
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
Yeah, we do have it so that the ships that are guarding the planets you can see flying around the planet. So if you have them stationed there, that's kind of neat. We also would like radioactive planets to have a particle effect on them, so they look radioactive. But no, there isn't support for that or mod support for it.
All right. Will there be an auto transport system to transfer your population from high populated systems to low pop systems?
Oh, no.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah. Master of Orion solved it by you had freighters that were off. They were abstracted, right? You just had whatever your freighter pool was, and you could move your citizens around on the freighters.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting.
I guess I would worry that it would introduce a level of micromanagement that we don't want in the game. Like players, as soon as they have that ability, they would feel like they have to, I've maxed out my growth rate, my food cap on this planet.
I need to move 1 million dudes off or 1 billion dudes off.
And that's not fun gameplay.
Well, and that's what you do in Master of Orion.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's like if you want to play on extreme or whatever the hardest difficulty, like that's what you do.
Yeah.
And it's not super fun.
Yeah.
So.
And it kind of makes population cap stuff less important because I can work around this dumb boring thing and not have to worry about my food caps. So I personally wouldn't think that'd be a very good idea.
Yeah,
that's my take on it.
I know it's not on the list, but it's always interesting. Like I love getting these suggestions because like it forces us to think about like, I don't know, would that be interesting?
Yeah.
Will ideologies be moddable? Ideologies should be totally moddable. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, just a file out here.
Now, unless I'm wrong, you pretty much have to. I don't know. You can't create like a fourth branch and stick it in there.
The UI is not going to change based on it. So what I would do if I wanted to create a new ideology trait is I would come in here and I would replace and put a new version of this culture trait defs down and replace the ones, take out some that I don't like and put in ones that I do want. Yeah, here's the pointer. So you have two main files here, culture trait defs. That's where all of the actual traits are and what they do, and culture tree defs. And this is how the trees are built out and pointing to which one it's going to use where.
Okay, sure. Yeah, but the problem is though too, like all the events and stuff are tied to benevolent, malevolent, pragmatic. So you probably your best bet is going to be just modifying those trees rather than like putting in a super friend unicorn tree or whatever.
Yeah, it's up to you. It's if you wanted to create a new one, that may work. I haven't tried it, but you would definitely then want to get down to changing all of the colonization events to have that kind of option on them and that kind of stuff.
That would be tough. I mean, not that you couldn't do it, because you could do it because those live in the XML too.
Yep.
But it would be tough.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a wiki that explains how points are calculated for your endgame score? No, because that is a weird function. That is actually pretty much all Brad, I believe, the score function.
Yeah, but it's in code. We know what the function is.
Oh yeah, we know what it is. I just and we change it from time to time, and
that would be hard.
It's probably not anything that's going to go in a wiki, to be honest.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there a way to add notice windows, like when a type of planetary improvement is finished? That'd be interesting. Could you tie? I mean, I doubt it, but could you tie a notification pop up for when your intimidation center or whatever is finished, so that you get a notification on it? Because normally your planets just kind of blow through their queue and they do their thing, which is fine for a game like Galciv where you have a bunch of colonies that are building a bunch of stuff every turn. But it'd be kind of interesting to be able to mod in.
It all depends on if there is a campaign trigger for that, right? If there was a campaign trigger for finishing an improvement, then that would be easy to do. Let's take a look at scenario trigger set defs and see what we have out here.
As you're digging for that. Speaking of redundant, why is there still an option to build a shipyard from the planet screen when it's normally built by a constructor off planet? Well, if you lost your last shipyard, you'd be screwed.
That's exactly right.
But no, I mean, I tend to build my shipyards on planets, actually. I tend to I generally wait until I'm pretty close to done with the improvements that I want to build for a while. Then I put out a shipyard and switch over some of my manufacturing over to military. So no, it's absolutely intended that you be able to build shipyards from your planet. So
one thing to look at, we're talking about modding, is we put out schema files for all of our XML. Schema file is the rules for what is allowable in an XML. It's the way that we validate it. If you open up any XML at the top, it's going to tell you what is the schema file that this is using. So right now I'm looking in Archaea's scenario trigger set defs, and I see at the top, this is the schema file that it uses. So it's going to be the rules for what I'm allowed to create. So then I come out here into that data schema directory, and we'll look for scenario trigger set defs. And let me see, I got something weird going on with my cursor. And you see here is all of the values that it allows. But this is your best documentation ever, because it is actually what the game is using. So if you ever want to say, hey, what are the fields that I can use in here for a prereq or for a ship definition, come look at the schema. It will have defined. This is what we're allowed to use. You can even see here's the defaults. So start enabled, defaults to false. If it's not in there, min of occurrence 0 means it doesn't have to exist if you don't want to. And here we can look through all of the triggers that Paul has set up, conversations that he has set up to trigger. So what we're looking for is there any trigger that's set out here for an improvement being made? Paul has all these notes in here too, which is nice.
Oh, yes. My CS professors were always very insistent on that whole documenting your code thing.
Yeah. So you see here's one trigger that Paul's using. On object destroyed, Archaea Drengen flag. So obviously he's flagged a fleet with Archaea Drengen flag. Then it's going to trigger this event, which is a scenario conversation comes up. On conquer planet. So what you want to find is what are all the ones that we can find on here? On conversation response, on conversation response, on conquer planets. On object destroyed, that's for taking out a mining base. So obviously you can put those flags on mining bases too. On start turn 5, if you on starting turn 5.
Had some questions that as you're kind of digging through there that some of us that we can blow through quick. So like. When or if are we going to see heroes as ship captains or governors? That's an expansion. We already have a plan for that.
Yep.
Chat's moving so fast. I keep losing the stuff. Silor still has problems with the pathing stuff. I swear that's just you. Hopefully we'll keep getting that fixed. I mean, I apologize for that. Let's see. Oh, here we go. How exactly do target and scope work? I'm not entirely sure to what that refers.
Yeah, scope is where it applies. So is it applying to this planet or is it applying to global? Hold on one second here. Let me see. I just wanted to keep on that to look at all the triggers that are out here. I've pulled up all of the trigger files for all of 3 of the campaigns that are out here. You could probably also look for the one in the tutorial too. There's probably a trigger file out here.
I don't actually see one.
Neither.
Interesting.
There we go.
There you
go. So on conversation, place a waypoint.
Can you provide the editor, asks Commander Villain. I believe Paul's plan was to provide the editor, but
yeah, it's an Excel file. So you'll need Excel. You'll need a newer version of Excel to be able to use it.
It is really nice for a lot of the things. It's not always perfect, and sometimes you want to go into the XML in Notepad or something, but it is very nice, especially for like quickly making new things, new content, new ideology traits or whatever.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to compare a bunch of data and take a look at it as a whole, unlike XML where you're kind of scrolling up and down to try to find that kind of stuff. I don't see anything for on improvement. I saw one up here for if you build a shipyard, but I'm not seeing any trigger for on improvement. The other thing I would recommend when you look through things like this here is, so we have like on-screen unhidden here. Let's look at the one that's a shipyard.
Here's an easy one. Is it possible to have a defensive ship component that has values for all 3 defense types? Absolutely. Those are very, very easy to mod. In fact, at one point, Armor did have values for all 3 or all 3 defense types. Let's see. When playing multiplayer, will only the host need to have a mod loaded? I don't know. What have we landed on that for the implementation?
Right now, mods are not supported in multiplayer.
Right.
But what will happen when we get Steam Workshop integration, and this is all the plan, this isn't, we have work to do here, and if there's something that doesn't work, then we may need to pivot. But the current plan is when you start a multiplayer game with other people and there's mods enabled, the game, since all the mods will be in Steam Workshop for this to work, it will go out and tell everybody, hey, you have to download these mods. Yeah, it'll even up all those.
Let's see.
That will require that you put your mod on Steam Workshop in order to be able to shareable with everybody. We felt like that was a better solution than just telling people, nope, you're not in sync yet. Nope, you're not in sync yet. Nope, you're not in sync yet. Right. And then you have to transfer files around and send them some local stuff.
Right.
So Steam Workshop is what we're going to use as that management piece.
Did you find your trigger that you were looking for, or
let's see here.
Conceding defeat?
We were looking for something.
Oh, that cursor thing is because of the setup I have here, where it's doubling that machine is double mirroring its output to the capture card in the machine that I'm on, plus the monitor that you're seeing. So that's why that is. Is there a way to let the governor build planetary factories and stuff without automatically having to do it yourself? That's coming in a patch. There is not currently, but what we're going to do is we're going to have multiple different governors. So you can say, like, I want this to be a research world, or I want this to be a tax world. And I mean, they'll be cooler than that, but you get the general idea, and then you just select that governor within the govern screen for that planet, and you'll be able to, he'll kind of take over. And it's just, there's some UI and balance stuff that we have to do for it. I mean, it's just kind of borrowing a lot of the AI code for it. So your planets will be developed as the AI would.
So what I did was I was looking at the triggers that we had in our one campaign file, and we saw the on construct shipyard was one of the triggers. I didn't see anything in that file which pointed to improvements, but I wanted to know what are all the ones the game supports. So I went over to the schema directory that we talked about earlier and did a search in all files for on construct shipyard, because I didn't know where those definitions are, but I know that schema is the place where it says this is what you're allowed to put in these fields and this is where you're not. So I did a search in the schema directory for on construct shipyard. I found one file, and I look at that file. I say, okay, here's all the acceptable triggers that it can take there, and there's one for on construct improvement. I don't see anywhere we're using that right now. When I look,
but it exists in the code is the point, and so you can make an XML. You can make the XML field that the code then sees and understands. Oh, this has a trigger that does this other thing. Yep.
So a great place for modders to go dig through these files, take a look at this, and see what are all the valid entries that are out there that you can start playing with, and see what they do.
Let's see. Somebody's trolling me about Master of Orion 3, and I am not going to rise to the bait. Let's see. Show us how to change the insane map. We actually kind of already did. We had somebody else in the chat say that they added like 2 sectors to an insane map and it crashed.
Oh.
So, I mean, insane really is like the biggest one we could get stable.
Yeah.
It's pretty much why it's the size that it is.
Yeah, and we set up memory. So one thing that Galciv 3 does a little differently, because we were 64-bit, because we knew we'd be working so much, a lot of former Stardock games would kind of allocate memory as they went. So you'd start a game and it'd be fine, and then 15 hours in, out of memory, you can't play this game anymore. The difference with Galciv 3 is it does pre-allocate all that memory for you. So I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, there's a value in XML for it, but I'm not too surprised, because when it sees that new map size, it's going to try to allocate all the memory for it. And if that goes outside of our existing pool limits, there could be problems.
There you go. Let's see. Patch, please. We need our races for multiplayer. Yes, it's coming. It's this week. Like I said, we were hoping to get it out today, and then there was a thing. As happens from time to time. Anybody, do you know anything about the transparent menu issue that a lot of people are having? That's one of the ones I see regularly reported.
Is that without the...
Like if you turn off Gel UI, I think that's the one.
So this is, I'm aware of one issue, which there's a directory on your computer for program data. I don't know if this is the same issue or not. But if you go here into users, no. Where's the program data on this computer?
Oh, this one I know the answer to. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to. Is it possible to make it so that only certain races can colonize certain planets? Like one race can colonize desert planets, another Terran planets, etc. What you probably could do would be to define planet types and then only give the colonization text to certain races.
Yes.
And define those colonization texts within their race trees.
And I think that's the way the specializations used to work, is you would pick one type of specialization for the type of planets you wanted to be able to unlock, and we had to change that.
It,
yeah.
As I recall.
Yeah.
Well, because there's a lot of people who really want to be able to like colonize everything and maximum improve all their planets. And there's a lot of people who like refuse to play Altarians because they don't get the ultra terraformers.
Yeah.
That let them, turn every planet into a class 35 or whatever.
Yeah, and I do agree that I don't think that just personally that you should be that shit is a place for specialization. You should be able to unlock each of the different types of worlds. It didn't make much sense to be a specialization for me.
But we changed it, so it's all good. Could we please have multiple autosave files instead of just 2? Maybe, if a lot of people want it.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about wanting to go back more than that. I guess as a gamer, I don't, but that doesn't certainly mean other people don't do it.
I mean, I've seen games that have like maximum number of autosaves, and they'll keep however many and just cycle through them.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that it's like a crazy engineering task to do so.
I get mad when I have to go back 3 turns, let alone go back 10. Crazy.
So I have completely derailed you. You had this whole plan for this stream, and I guarantee that I have completely derailed.
That's okay. I just grabbed one of my mods that I made. It's the 100-player mod. And this one's also very, very simple. There's just one faction defs file. And this faction defs is even simpler than what we were looking at earlier, because it is just copies of the existing faction. So Terran, normally you would see faction Terran, and that would be the full name, but this is faction Terran 01. Internal names have to be unique. I couldn't put another faction Terran. So faction Terran 01, Terran 02, Terran 03, Terran 04. There's no creativity here at all. And then there is...
just to be able to have 100 factions
to
drop into
There's
the
a bunch of Altarians, copies of the Altarians, and the only point to this was so that I can come in, start a game, and have 100 players in a game with me.
Let's see. Turn number in the name of the save would be very nice.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. Put it on the list. Let's see. Got a shout out to CS professors in the chat here, which tells you how far behind I am in the chat. I'm like 10 minutes behind in the chat, which is what kind of happens. Can my low FPS of small breaks make unstable multiplayer? I can't seem to play more than 4 turns with my friends without getting a disconnect. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if you're having performance issues that it's causing you some kind of desyncs.
Yeah, there is a timeout value for... We use Steam for all the peer-to-peer stuff, but there's a timeout value there.
Yeah, so it could be... I mean, if you're really just on the edge of being able to play the game in the first place, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if multiplayer... Oh, yeah, there's all your dudes.
Yeah, so there's just a ton of Terran, Drengen, copies of all of them. So now when I come in to say next, and I grab my... This is a gigantic universe, and set all these. I better have some a lot of planets.
Yeah,
and a lot of stars.
Can you mod the colonization screen when a colonization ship arrives, meaning the event, to show a mini map of where the planet is and a summary of the planet's traits?
No.
You can't, but it's something that a lot of people have asked for.
Okay, yeah, that would be anything that's UI or displaying new information. That's going to be a bigger task. There actually is. Let me show you where I don't know how to do it. But I will show you where the XML files for all the UI stuff are.
I didn't realize the UI was stored in XML.
It is. So this is kind of cool. If you look in all of these are just XML files. Colony, list, submention, that's probably for the actual colony itself. They should be relatively familiar names, but if I go into, this is the ship designer window, I believe. Open it with Notepad++. You can see here's all the controls, the heights, all the data that it's showing on everything.
So you can mod the UI to some extent.
To some extent. I wouldn't go crazy here. It's still, all these things are hooked up on the back end to what they're supposed to display in these fields.
Right.
So there's nothing calling out and saying, hey, this is the data I want to put here. But if you want to move things around, if you want to change a frame, put a line break in here, change the color of something, that's all XML driven. It's all right here for you.
Cool.
So you could make your game look different. You just can't say, hey, I want to have a mini map here on my game initiation screen. I want to show what the universe is going to look like. Things like that wouldn't happen.
Got a shout out to Reach for the Stars in the chat, which I appreciate very much, because Reach for the Stars was a very old, like 80s, pretty straight up adaptation of the Stellar Conquest board game.
Oh, okay.
Which is one of those like super, for a board game, it was very complex,
Yeah.
right? You had like a sheet for every planet that you had to write in numbers for everything. It was one of the very first Space 4X's. Anyway, I played the heck out of that game as a kid. And it's really, really an excellent game and kind of the godfather of a lot of 4X stuff, whether people know it or not. So anyway, shout out to Reach for the Stars. Absolutely. All right. So you're loading up 100 factions because you're an insane person.
Yeah. So it looks like I have maybe 20 or 30 in here. So I'll put in 5 new Terrans, 5 new Drengen.
Let's see. I am going to blow up the chat again, I think. I think that's what I'm going to do.
All right.
All right. So same rules as before. This is open to everybody. You are welcome to you can live in New Zealand, Mozambique, Turkmenistan, France, Russia, wherever. We don't care. But you can win an Elite Founder Edition key. Hooray. It's all the expansions, all the DLC forever, plus the game. All you do is you enter this text into the chat once and only once, exactly as it appears when I type it here, and it will enter you into the key, and I will roll it in a couple minutes, and we'll give away a code, and it'll be fun. All right, continue, Derek.
All right, we are starting our game with a ton of players in it. I suspect we're probably going to be shoulder to shoulder with other factions right off the start. I'm still playing my ghosts. But there's more stuff out here. Let's see if we can find a planet in this map. Send my ships out. I am going to start researching Universal Translator because I have a feeling I'm going to have some people to talk to soon. And research laboratory.
I'm really amused. People are getting used to the way that I do giveaways because it's much less annoying than it was. and the number of entrants climbs up very quickly.
So what is it? How do you do that?
There's a Chrome add-on that lets me run that. Cool. It just pulls the stuff out of the chat because the chat's actually just IRC. Yeah, like you can connect to Twitch chat with an IRC client. And so yeah, no, it's very easy. It's very nice. And I can like filter out moderators. I can give subscribers bonus luck if I want to, which isn't something that I do because we don't have any subscribers because we are not a for-profit channel. We just want people to see the game.
Yeah,
we make our money selling the game, not selling our Twitch.
So. Oh, I forgot my faction is knowledgeable, so I can zoom out and see all of the crazy factions that are all over the map.
Who are you playing as?
I am playing as the Ghost, those Ghost faction with this core starter world, but I can see there are...
That is way too many factions.
New factions all over the place.
And what size map is this? This is gigantic?
Gigantic, yep.
So there's 2 more map sizes beyond this?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. I love tight clusters so much because I think it's cool how these become little islands, especially with a lot of players because, I mean, there'll be whole wars fought in here by the time I get over there. And we'll see who survives.
It actually reminds me a lot of the way Sins of a Solar Empire maps work.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have the like different systems and and I always love that. Like playing 3-player comp stomps against like 5 insane AIs or something and like, super fun. I love Sins. That game's fun. People should check that out too. They should make another Sins game at some point. That's what I think.
They should.
As a player. All right, I'm gonna roll this thing. Juice Train. The Juice Train wins. High five, bro. I'm gonna turn my hat backwards in honor of the Juice Train because I can only assume that we're gonna be doing a little tailgating on some Saturdays. But anyway, continue. You're a dirty Ohio State person, though.
I am. The national champion Buckeyes. I will say.
I get trolled by Tigers fans. I get trolled with Derek's in Ohio State. Terrible.
All right, I did find a planet, so we are safe. We at least will have one world. Do I want tourism? Do I want to just be pragmatic? I love, a lot of people might complain a little bit that these bonuses are not even. Like this gives me plus 20% food production, but pragmatic gives me nothing. I love that these are unbalanced because it forces players, it pushes them out of their comfort zone. Like I always play malevolent. Well, maybe you wouldn't if you got to hear some, we're trying to incent you to go different directions with this game. It comes out really well.
No, I really like the way that turned out because there was a common criticism too in Galciv 2 was that like Benevolent always kind of sucked, and Malevolent always gave you more stuff because you were just being malevolent. You were just taking what you wanted. And it's so much better balanced in Galciv 3, and it really pushes you in different directions. It's really like I almost kind of wish I didn't know which one was benevolent, pragmatic, or like I would take out all the gameplay information. I would just let you pick.
Yeah.
I would make you pick.
Oh, you would drive OCD strategy gamers nuts.
I know,
they would
but
hate that.
Oh, it's so good though, because then it actually forces you to think about like, man, what do we do here?
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna?
No, you would be thinking, which one is the benevolent choice here? Unfortunately.
No, I know, but those people are wrong, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Okay. No, like I love that. Like in Pillars of Eternity, they have the option to not show the gameplay information on conversation choices. I love that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's like I hate the idea, sorry, this is a hobby horse, and we'll get off it in a second. But like in Mass Effect, I never have a choice of what I'm going to choose because I'm always going to choose a Paragon choice because I need those Paragon points so I can get more, shooty with my space pistol or whatever because it has a gameplay effect. Yeah. And I feel like I'm gimping myself if I don't do that.
Yeah,
and so
true.
It prevents me from reacting naturally. It drives me nuts.
Yep.
Anyway.
I'm going to choose to murder all the... I love this background art, by the way. That looks so sharp. I made this picture. I'm kidding.
Everybody hates my ideas. Well,
yeah, he's wrong, folks. You're all right. He's wrong.
You're all wrong.
All right, very cool looking planet. This is our new home world. It has more than one free tile. That's pretty awesome from my perspective.
If only you could move your civilization capital.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's actually a pretty big nerf. And there's a bunch of stuff that references to civilization capital, or at least a little bit of stuff. Like, I love the motivation line in Malevolence, where you can get bonus manufacturing on your homeworld and then double military or 100% bonus to military manufacturing is absolutely huge. It's like, you know what? I want to build medium ships every turn by like turn 70. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
It's an excellent plan, by the way. I highly suggest it.
I'm going to take the free frigate that Adam thinks is underpowered.
So underpowered.
We will see. We should be playing multiplayer right now. I would show you.
I don't think we should play multiplayer on your 100 faction map.
If you notice, though, the turn times aren't very bad. This all works out really nice.
Which is why, like, there's one person who's all over our forums and our chat and stuff, and we love him or her. Silor is getting this same problem with the really long turn times, which is so frustrating because it's like, but our turn times are fine here. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like there might be something locally going on. It's tough because we want to support it. We want to help, but to some extent, we need people to.
Is it SEI?
LORE, yeah.
Yeah, I know Silor from the forums. Yeah. It's been amazingly helpful.
I know. And it's like, I feel bad that we're not fixing his issue.
We should get that person fixed.
That's what I'm saying.
It saved me so much time.
Or fix his issue anyway. We don't necessarily have to get that person fixed.
They cannot talk to me. Crin04.
Can you make kamikaze ships? Not like specifically kamikaze ships. You can make cannon ships with a bunch of thrusters that go in and will almost certainly die, but do a bunch of damage before they do so. Yeah. Is probably the closest thing. But I don't think there's anything for like when the ship blows up, it does, the reactor overloads or whatever.
Yeah, I can't think of anything like that either. You could certainly put a bunch of fighters on it, so it spawns all the fighters, but the ship has no hit points, so it won't survive the battle. But man, those fighters are going to go out there and they're going to do everything. And since the ship doesn't survive, the fighters won't survive. So it'd only be good for one battle. You could create a component that could really boost attack and really lower hit points. Negative 90% hit points, but double your attack, something like that, to make it more of a glass cannon kind of ship like you're talking about.
But there's not like that kind of literally kamikaze, like fly into another ship or fly into the middle of a formation and self-destruct or anything. Right. Yeah, unfortunately. All right. Adam, do you have your own Twitch channel? I don't, but I kind of feel like I should. So I'm probably gonna hook that up at some point. And I'll give myself some shout outs on Stardock stream. Why not? What else am I doing here if not to build my own personal Twitch channel?
Adam writes some of my quotes that you see in news. This is the deep, dark secret of being a marketing brand manager is Adam writes my quotes and then brings them to me and says, hey, how would you feel about saying this? So half of Adam's job is so he'll joke that he's trying to make me look like a jerk to the community, saying, hey, I feel like you would say this. I'm like, no, that's horrible.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And actually, reading through the chat now, people are actually a lot more kind of 50-50 on the hiding the gameplay info from things like colonization effects.
That's because you're giving away free stuff, and they're just trying to suck up.
That's possible. I'm not going to lie. That is totally possible.
All right, so I have my free frigate here, and I have a wormhole to check out. So let's go see where this takes us in our 100-player universe.
Oh, gosh. You are a silly, silly person. Well, you can't do it with your frigate, though, because you can't survey, right? Don't you have to survey the wormhole?
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
It's a terrible idea anyway,
I don't have
so...
any frigate or any survey ships with these guys.
Oh, yeah, you totally don't.
These pirates are going to take out my colony ship. Our colonizer 1
We got to get pirates up in multiplayer, by the way.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts, because like I really like what they add to the game.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, why not just send out all your freighters and colony ships and whatever?
Ooh, I have Universal Translator now. It's kind of weird. It always shows the pop-up, diplomacy pop-ups before it tells you that you have Universal Translator. So I'll get the pop-up right after this that, hey, you can speak to aliens. And I'm like, I just did.
Comment in the chat. The AI in my game builds large ships every turn. Yeah, not on turn 70, they don't. It was close to turn 70 or something like that. Anyway, isn't there a set as capital button in the govern screen? That, I feel like, would be useful information for the Ghosts of Abaddon to know.
Is capital in the govern screen?
So go to your non-terrible planet.
All right.
Go to the govern screen. There might be. You might be right. Well, that works. Set as capital. There you go.
Oh.
There you go. Because then you get all the Civ capital bonuses. It probably hasn't refreshed. I saw the numbers change on it. Nice.
You're absolutely right about the wormhole, and still shows colony cap. Oh, I don't.
But
think
it shows
I
Civ
haven't hit
capital
turn
lower,
yet.
so yeah. There's some weird stuff with some of the screens don't refresh quite on demand.
We had to do some. We have a state machine that's running that's very specific about when things are allowed to happen because of multiplayer. Right. It's our first version of GalCiv that's multiplayer, so we had to be a lot more careful about that. No, you can't change that information right now.
Right. Any way to mod a faction to limit the amount of ship types they can build, like limit somebody to X number of hulls or whatever?
Absolutely.
Really?
If you look in the, you could certainly change their tech tree around so that they can't unlock techs that do that. If you look in the tutorial in the campaign, I think they always use modified ship lists, which don't allow them to build certain things.
Well, you can disallow certain things, but could you say like this race can only have one huge hull out at a time?
Oh, I see. I guess if I were going to do that, I would put a special resource down that component required. Make a new hull component for that size, and have a resource requirement on it.
Can you grant that resource automatically, or would it have to go on the map?
Yeah, you can grant resources through player abilities. So I think you can do that. Or you could have a civilization capital that gives a plus to the resource. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You probably have to do something creative like that. So you could control. I can only have 3 big, massive battleships out there.
Right, which would be kind of interesting to have. Like, I'm just thinking, like, if somebody were designing specific scenarios, it wouldn't necessarily work super well in the sandbox.
Yeah,
it'd be really limiting. But in certain scenarios, I could see that being quite an interesting choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, it could be kind of cool.
Let's see. Can you deny a custom race certain diplomatic actions? Like races that literally can't ally or can't open borders?
If it requires a tech for it, you could certainly get rid of those techs.
Yeah, that'd be an easy one especially for like alliances. I believe require a tech.
But I don't think that Open Borders does. You could certainly put a tech requirement. Oh, yeah, you could put a tech requirement on Open Borders in XML, and then just have it be on the base for everybody else. And then with this one, they will never get the tech that does it.
So you could totally do that. People complaining about lag on the stream. Nothing on my end, folks. Can't you make it do damage to itself and the other ship at really close range?
No, I don't think we have anything that says damage myself.
Right.
There's no tag for that.
But, I mean, that would be kind of interesting. Yeah. It would be a way to make kamikaze ships. Because there's been actually, that's a common request, which kind of surprises me.
That surprises me too, because at the point of which you've put this effort into making the ship, moving the ship, getting it to the place, seeing it gone after a battle, heaven forbid a pirate ship has attacked you, and now that ship is gone and seems a little unfortunate.
Is it possible to mod in damage over time weapons, such as drones that drill into a ship? I don't know if we do.
You could certainly, so rate of fire is controllable.
You
so
give it a
you
really low rate of fire,
Yeah.
and so it would still like stick on whatever you're targeting.
Yeah.
Would be the limitation on it. You wouldn't be able to go bam, 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 and like in fantasy terms, go poison the whole enemy team. It would be one at a time. But yeah. Let's see. You could get a lot of visual spam very quickly doing that, depending on what you hooked up on the graphics side. Sorry?
I pull my frigate back because these pirates are going to be a problem for my lone colony ships.
How fast are you moving? Do the ghosts have any additional move?
Yes, they do.
They're faster? No, those aren't pirates. Those are somebody else's scouts.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this universe. So
I was going to say, because kind of once you can move 3, pirates aren't that big of a concern in the early game until they get better engines.
And the ghosts have +2 speed for that.
Oh yeah, so you'll be all right.
These guys want Universal Translator, and I'm going to give it to them.
They're not even that. Well, they're pretty close. Oh man, there's some there's some ships up there. All right, let's see. Is it possible to create a race-specific ideology trait or tree?
You could put a prereq on an ideology that requires a certain race. Now, that wouldn't mean that you wouldn't see it when you go in for other factions. So I could take this out. I don't know what would happen if I just put more in here, if the UI automatically expands for that or not. I suspect that this UI was built specifically for these 20 ideologies, but I could. It would be more of a total conversion where you say, listen, what I'm going to do is on these trees, I'm going to have a special, the last one will only be faction specific. So on the Malevolent, right here, this is a Drengen only one. So if the Drengen get here, they get this guy. So you could do something like that.
All right, cool. How would you go about adding new abilities to the game? It seems like there could only be derivatives of existing abilities. I assume he's talking about racial abilities there.
Yeah, those all require code, so it's not certainly as easy in XML as to saying this is what I want it to do. Right. The traits are easier for plus to, any resource you have, you can have a trait which modifies what you're doing with it, sight range, movement, accuracy, all that kind of stuff, although we have a lot of those in for you already. But if you actually want it to do something, usually that's a code thing, and you can't just mod those kind of actions. You may want to play with the triggers a little bit, though, and see if what can be done.
Totally. So how's your Ghost game going here, Derek?
It is going just fine. I have 3 planets, our crappy home planet and our other 2. I am going to... Let's take a look at the whole universe. We got our 100-player game running right now. We're going to see lots of pop-ups from lots of people that want to talk.
Oh, God. Yeah, you are.
Yep. That is Brad's, I guess. I didn't even know they were in this game.
Yep. Yeah, it's super jank because it's just launchers. Like it's way stretched.
Yeah.
Like he literally just did a Google image search at the beginning of the game and pulled something. Yes, to Angels, to Weeping Angels.
I love the Weeping Angels.
That was some fine television for sure.
Let's say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
If you don't know about the grave key, by the way, the thing above the tilde, if you hit that, opening up the debug console, also a great thing to use. And if you type help here, you can see all of the commands that you can use from here. So
it's super helpful for testing any mods you may be developing.
Absolutely. Go to the diplomacy screen and we see here is all the people that are in my game with me right now. So that's kind of cool.
Excellent.
One of our commands we have in the debug console is UP meeting, which forces a UP meeting to happen.
Speaking of the UP,
and you see here's everybody that we have out there.
That's awesome. I love that you made them build this screen to be able to accommodate this.
I know.
Because I mean that was a non-trivial thing, right? Like you can build it for 8. No, you have to build it for 100.
Yep.
It has to be able to. So yeah, somebody had fun with that. Let's see. Is there a way to have a faction leave or defy the United Planets from the start of the game? I've only found parameters regarding points at which all AIs decide to defy a resolution.
Well, I guess I don't understand. I can Defy now, the first time you mean before we've had the first
like
UP
a
vote?
faction that's just naturally like you're just not in the UP.
Oh, I see. I don't know of any way to do that.
Oh, we'll have to dig into that.
And that's usually AI. That's usually code on the AI side too. It's not. There's no XML value for you're always outside the UP. I think that could be kind of cool though. It could be nice. The pirates obviously aren't in here, and they're a real faction. Although we hide them. I'm gonna check their stats and see what.
They shouldn't be in the UP, should they?
They shouldn't. But that's what I'm saying is the pirates are out of the UP. So obviously something is keeping them out.
Oh yeah.
If it's a XML thing, then maybe we could.
That's true. I'll
take a look here and see.
Let's see. Is there a way to modify the ship construction menu so that instead of core and user, we can directly scroll the ships based on size, weapons, defenses, utilities? Yeah, talking about different filters for the ship menu. That's something that we're aware of and we want to build in kind of for everybody, is kind of the short answer on that one. Is trading for text outside of your personal tech tree still coming? This is really great for mods and flexibility. Yeah, I mean, you can do that now. Like, I was trading for Iridium-specific text the other day.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
That's
sure.
my understanding, too.
Yeah. One of the things, I know tech trading is kind of a hot topic, and one of the things we want to do is get rid of tech brokering, which basically means that you would only be able to trade away a tech that you yourself have researched.
That's a game option right now.
You can
disable it.
Is disable tech trading entirely.
Tech brokering, I thought was.
I'm pretty sure it's just you can only turn off tech trading entirely. You may be right.
I'm going to save this and see. It was in the design to be able to disable tech brokering. It may not have made it.
Let's see. Adam is 10 minutes behind. It says he's not lagging. Womp, womp. Well, I'll deal with it. Let's see. Would love to have resources accumulate and then have ships have a one-time versus continuous cost. Boy. I don't know if that's something... Yeah, I'm totally right. Look at how right I am.
You're right, yeah. Was not put in.
Did you find your pirates?
No, looking at that right here. So here's the definition for the pirates. And we want to see if there's anything in here for
our homeworld.
Because I know miners come in. I wonder if this race type special does it, but that probably blocks a bunch of things. No, it must be a code change that is blocking them. There doesn't look like to be like there's anything on the XML side to say you're not in the UP. I like that idea though. I think that could be kind of fun to put a race out there that are always outside of the UP.
Totally. Let's see. So yeah, so as far as having resources accumulate and then be spent rather than the model that we have now where they're just tied up in whatever you have. Boy.
Oh, they want to switch to...
switch to... I'm trying to think of what... there was... Civilization has always done the like in-use model, if I remember correctly. Or the either you have it or you don't.
Yeah.
Which is like Civ 4 had like you couldn't build tanks unless you had rubber or whatever.
Yeah.
But you didn't like use it up or tie it up with them.
If we look,
I mean that would be a code change almost certainly.
So I want to see how credits are defined. So credits obviously work like that now. They're accumulated resource that you spend. So let's see where credits are defined from the XML.
Can you add custom code into the game to make, for instance, a total conversion? Well, I mean, we're not distributing the source code.
Right.
So no to that.
So you could do a total conversion in the aspect of, so total conversion for me, the modding usually means that, the base stuff is all coming out and then I'm going to create my own universe. So if you have your, fantasy sci-fi universe that you like, you could certainly remove all the Galciv races, replace them with all of your own races so it remains consistent. If you wanted to make one based on what's the most obscure sci-fi Lost in Space. If you want a Lost in Space mod, you could absolutely do that. You wouldn't have to have the Drengen and the Terran and all those kind of guys in it. But yeah, no source code is going out, so you couldn't like make a different game out of this.
Right. Let's see. I love Creature of Existence because he always has like the wackiest suggestions where it's like, that sounds awesome for like Galciv 4. This one's not too wacky. Could we build a special constructor that builds a special big starbase around the sun that gives bonuses to all the planets in that system?
A Dyson sphere.
I don't know of any way that you would be able to do that in a mod. Starbases kind of do their thing a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
one of the things we're talking about putting out later on is we want the ability to upgrade star shipyards. Star
Yes.
bases would be kind of cool. Star bases in can do lots of things. I don't know that there's no way to mod it that I know of, but it could be kind of cool functionality. I would like just the visual of that star base sitting right beside a sun pulling off energy. Could be kind of cool.
that would be sweet.
Especially if different kinds of suns gave off different amounts.
That would be totally sweet. The help command needs descriptions for all the commands. Actually, if you just type help and then the command,
Yep.
it should give you the description.
So
you can help like FOW
yep.
or mod credit. There
So
you
it
go.
tells you, what you need to do to put in there for it. So it might not always be as clear as it could be, but we did try to put that in for you.
And if you feel like adding that to the wiki, you should do that. I always like to plug the wiki because I spent a lot of time on it, and it's pretty cool. It's galciv3.gamepedia.com. It's a pretty sweet wiki. Check it out. Is there a download link for the Ghosts race? Do you have that in your dev journal?
I do not. No, I'll
should.
give it to you, Adam, and you can post it somewhere.
Excellent.
That'd be
so
great.
We will add that.
They are a lot of fun. I like them.
It's a cool race, and it's a nice kind of showcase for modding because it's like here's kind of something that's pretty easy to do,
Yep, one file.
but can have fairly profound effects on the game.
Yep.
Does anyone on the team take notes during these streams, or do you have a poor intern watch the entire stream afterwards? I know Paul generally watches the streams that he's not on.
Yeah.
Various members of the team do watch the streams. We don't have an intern tasked with it, although that would be amusing. But no, I mean, I tend to take notes on some of the stuff, but I do always say, like, especially with suggestions and bug reports and stuff like that, put them on the forum, put them on the support forum. We watch that very closely. Oh, you showed Fog of War, so everything is drawn through the fog. Yeah. That's a cheat thing. It's not actually a bug. Well, I mean, it's a bug that we're probably never going to fix.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway.
But that's it.
But yes, always put stuff on the support forum if it's stuff like that, because that's just a way better way for it to be archived and get it in front of the team. So, is there an option to keep playing after you win?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You keep playing.
Can we mod the UP to a vote on allowing a new member? That's kind of that sounds like. I mean, I don't think so. You might be able to define a new resolution to bring back somebody who has defied the UP.
No.
No.
No, there would need to be code for it because it needs to go to the code and then cycle through. Who are all the people that have defied? I need to build a list to present to you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, fair enough.
That wouldn't work.
Fair enough. But I mean, to the UP point, we have a bunch of plans for the UP and for diplomacy in general that will be going in the coming months and time, and we'll see. Let's see.
I'm interested because it looks like the Kryn are doing great in their games. Like the top power.
The Kryn and the Yor seem to be the two factions that the AI consistently does the best with.
Huh.
In my experience. I don't know.
Interesting.
Is it possible to have a race with organic ships that would grow over time and auto-refit themselves, adding a weapon after Y turns or an engine after X, etc.? Oof. You'd have to define an event. Can you have a recurring timer event definition? That would be tough.
Yeah, I don't know. We need to go look at those triggers and see what was out there.
So that's kind of you're gonna notice a pattern in Derek's answers here. Is that especially for some of the more complex stuff, figuring out what those triggers are? Can you adapt one of those triggers to what you're trying to do? I mean, that's going to be the real test.
Yeah.
Right. So we can leave that one with a maybe, and dig around in the triggers and see in the trigger schema and see what you can see.
I've always been amazed by modders because they will be given a relatively finite amount of options to work with, and it's just amazing. We had one guy called Heavenfall for Fallen Enchantress, and Fallen Enchantress wasn't as moddable as Galciv is, but some of the stuff that he could do was just amazing. All this kind of crazy stuff, which is really neat to see.
Absolutely. And you can do so much more in Galciv because 64-bit, because 32-bit, I know particularly with Sins of Solar Empire, was always bumping up against that 32-bit limit.
Yeah.
Mods were really constrained. Like, even though the game itself was pretty moddable,
Yeah.
mods were really constrained in what they were able to do strictly because of that memory limitation.
It's why we only had 2 DLC for Rebellion. We would have loved to produce more. The community would have loved to have had more, but those 32-bit limits were just tough. We couldn't fit any more stuff into the game.
Yep. Let's see. Would it be possible to have a bonus granted from a production stat? For example, a morale bonus proportional to research.
I wanted to have an ability for that only triggers if your approval is over a certain amount. So this planet gets plus 50% production if your approval is 90 or over, and I wanted to have that kind of stuff. I don't know if there is anything in that does that right now.
That's an interesting question.
We would have to, look around a little bit.
It'd be cool, though. Let's see. Adam, can you make your own Twitch channel and stream some Galciv 1 for us? I mean, technically, that is a thing that I could do. I don't think it's going to be a thing that I do.
Brad and I were playing Galciv 1 last month. He was playing, I was watching, and we were making jokes. But there are lots of still wonderful, beautiful things in that game. So that's what we were looking at. We're like, oh, that's kind of just the little minutia of the game was really well done. You could just tell, even after all these years, this was a game that was loved. There was a lot of time and attention put into it to do all the little, things that you may not do for a big major AAA title that nobody really cares about. But if you're a hardcore strategy gamer, you see those little things, you're like, okay, that's cool that somebody took the time to do that little stuff.
Sure. Can you mod a Starbase module to give a shipyard bonus? You could definitely mod a Starbase module to give a military manufacturing bonus to the planets that it affects.
Yep.
I don't believe you'd be able to mod it to directly change a Starbase that's in its area of effect. As far as I'm aware, those are all tied to planets. And Starbases or shipyards derive their production from their planetary sponsors.
Yeah.
So you could definitely make a new Starbase component.
Yeah. And it should be the same effect at the end of the day. I think you're right.
So you could make a new Starbase component and tie it to a tech. You could make a new tech to tie it to. Stick that on the tree somewhere. And then that Starbase component would it would be a military manufacturing boost of either a flat value or a percentage modifier. And but it would affect the planets that it's on, not the Starbases.
Yeah.
Can 2 players play online the same civilization together? The best thing to do, you just do a copy one of the races. So if you wanted to both play Terrans, make a copy of the Terran race, call them Terran 01.
Are they asking that, or are they asking if you and I can both be playing the same faction? Like, we're both playing the Ghost right now. I mean, I don't know which one they're asking for.
I don't know either. So to that part, no, you can't share ownership of a faction.
We do see some players that'll be like, I'll play 10 turns and then I'll pass you the save game.
Right, and that's called a succession game.
Yeah.
And that's very easy to do. I mean, it's literally like emailing the save game around.
Sure.
Or putting it on Dropbox like a normal person. You could make a sim link in your save game folder, point it at your Dropbox, and have it all be automatic if you really want to get hardcore nerd style on it.
But if they are talking about we both want to be playing Drengen in this multiplayer game, then yes, absolutely. That
as a 101 anyway. Once custom factions are in.
Yeah.
You just copy the faction, give them a new internal name.
Yeah.
Probably a new display name as well, so that you don't confuse yourself.
Yep.
All right. Ilon is volunteering to be the poor intern that watches videos and takes notes. Excellent. All right. I'm going to do one more giveaway, I think. I think that's the plan.
All right.
So, because, we're starting to get into toward the end of the stream. Derek is going to want to go do his real job. I probably want to go do my real job, too. What should the word be, Derek?
The word?
The magic word.
That they have to put in there?
That's right.
Modding seems appropriate.
Modding. You're so creative. That's what I love about you.
Pick something that's really hard to spell.
Modding is fine. It can be modding. This is for an Elite Founder Edition. Type this once and only once into the chat, please.
Should be morale, as it was misspelled through most of the beta.
Oh man, there's a lot of text in Galciv, and our lead designer, bless his heart. Spelling and grammar are not his strong suits. And we just, Brian and Kristen spent a ton of time going through as much of the text as they can, and there's still more to do. And that's just...
The community's been really good at it, too,
yes.
filling us in and pointing out typos.
Yeah,
QA's been good about it. But yeah,
those
sometimes
are great.
you read...
anytime we get those reports from people, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier for us to find and fix them.
Yeah.
I submitted one of my own yesterday, actually, or this morning. Infidel on the diplomatic tooltip when you are trading with infidels.
Yeah.
Was misspelled. Alas.
It
All right.
is. It's hundreds of thousands of words in this game. You don't. Doesn't seem like it sometimes.
It's like 248,000 or something.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah.
The typical novel is about 90.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's plenty. All right. What else do we need to get to before we close the stream
I think
down?
this is all for me, unless there's any last
Did we
questions.
Did we get through your whole list?
Yep.
Because you came prepared, which is a first for the Stardock stream. I should note.
You wouldn't know from the lack of organization as I was showing things, but I actually had a list.
Well, it's really my fault. I kept distracting you. I apologize. Satoru, didn't you win one of these already? I'm pretty sure Satoru 11 already won one of these.
Maybe that was Satoru 10.
No, Satoru 11 is one of our long time guys who's on like every stream. He's all over the forums. I'm gonna look this up because I could swear you already won. Somebody put in the chat, did Satoru already win? I feel like he totally did.
Everybody else who wants to win it instead, they're all going to
like,
say
oh,
yes.
yeah, I totally
Oh yeah, 5 times. What are you talking about?
No, I can pull up my outbox in Twitch. Yes, thank you, Twitch. Yes, Satoru already won. He fessed up to it. All right, I'm gonna roll again. Okay. All right. Mortorf, you win. Congratulations, you are an elite founder. All DLC and expansions forever. Check it out. It's super cool. Thank you, Satoru, for being honest. By the way. All right. Hey, by the way, big shout out to everyone in the chat. Our chat is always very civil. It's very positive. Even when people are complaining about bugs and stuff, nobody gets nasty, which I really, really appreciate as a guy who, runs the stream and moderates the chat. Although Island Dog also does his thing moderating the chat, which we all very much appreciate. Thanks, Island Dog. And it's just super helpful. It's really cool. It makes this really fun to do, for me and for Paul and for Derek and for Brad and everybody who comes on the stream. All of our guys that have come in and played, like Angry Joe. You guys gave a great warm welcome to the Angry Army when they came and bombed the chat on release day. That was fun. Made it really cool for me yesterday playing some multiplayer with Slipping Sand and Arvius. That was a lot of fun. Just really, really appreciate everything that you guys do. Thank you. So yeah, shout outs go out to Gamepedia for hosting our official Galactic Civilizations III wiki. They did a lot of work to help skin that and pull a lot of data out of the XML and get it up on there. And I've done a lot of work to get the wiki to be somewhere cool that people can go, that they can check it out. Shout out to everybody who writes guides and stuff on our forums. Cyclonus put together a really awesome getting started guide that's really nicely illustrated with a bunch of pictures and stuff. Check it out. That's on the Steam community. Everybody who reviews us on Steam, super, super helpful. If you like the game, give us a Steam review. I can't tell you, those things are worth their weight in gold. So shout out to everybody who takes the time to do that. Everybody who contributes to the wiki, everybody who reports bugs on the forums, everybody who comes into the Twitch and hangs out and chats with us and asks us their questions, even when I ignore your questions week after week, as I totally do from time to time. There's enough people in the Galciv stream now that we never get to all the questions. But that's cool. It's it's a really good problem for us to have. Very much appreciate it. So anyway, this is the last founder key we're giving away. It is, until further notice anyway. I don't want to say we'll never ever do it again. But Mortorf is the last person to hook up the elite founder status in the foreseeable future. Maybe we'll give some away at a later time, but that's kind of the conclusion of the launch weekend celebration. It's been a fun week. We've been twitching all week. Literally, haha. But no, it's been a lot of fun. We're going to go back to, at least in the near term, we're still going to be twitching on Fridays. Our normal Friday dev stream. I was actually kind of planning on cutting it out, but then Paul was like, "No, that's my radio show. You can't take it away from me."
That's awesome. Good.
So we'll keep up on Fridays. I know Paul just likes to get in front of the community and be able, I think it helps him just as the designer to have that hour and a half, every week where he just kind of sits down and takes questions. And
it's been great when Paul and I were talking about prioritizing bugs or features, and a lot of times Paul will say, no, this is really, the community really wants this. I hear about this on every time I stream, and so that getting those things bumped to the top of the list is really nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's outside of like crash bugs where we're seeing crash reporting and stuff. Like, that's literally how we prioritize in a lot of cases. Not all cases, because we do have our own vision for where we want to take the game. And Paul has a vision, and Brad obviously has a lot of investment in Galactic Civilizations. But a lot of it is, well, this is what people are asking for. We keep hearing it week after week. Like, we got to do this.
Yeah.
So we don't, as much as it may seem sometimes, like we say, oh, it's on the list, we'll get to it. Like, we listen to you and we hear you. So we very much appreciate, just the fact that people are taking their Friday afternoon or Friday morning or Saturday morning or whatever it is in your time zone to hang out with us and watch Galciv and chat. And that means a lot. So we really appreciate that. So, all right. That concludes the shout out portion of today's broadcast. And thanks, Derek, for coming by, showing off some modding stuff. This has been fun. We actually had a ton of viewers. People were totally into it. I wasn't sure about the modding thing. I don't know. People are going to give a crap about modding and literally looking at text files and Notepad++.
Sure.
But people are totally into it. So we'll be getting modding up in multiplayer just as soon as we can. I don't know if it'll quite make it for 1.1. I haven't asked anyone that recently. Derek would have a better idea than I do on that. But 101 will be this week, and that'll have custom factions and multiplayer for sure. And it'll have a bunch of bug fixes and that kind of stuff. We very much want to get that all taken care of and out the door, so that we can get to making the cool stuff, like the Steam Workshop integration and like adding more stuff to the game, like getting out of this, fixing bugs and not that we ever will stop, because bug fixing is modern software development. It's never going to be totally bug free on everybody's machine or anything. But doing cool stuff like Vulkan support, doing cool stuff like new AI development, doing cool stuff like adding mods into multiplayer. Like, that's what nobody gets out of bed and they're like, man, I'm going to fix that black screen. I mean, maybe somebody does.
Some of our graphics developers do. They really do. I'm really looking forward to playing all the mods the community makes. Yes. So I've really been impressed with what's out there so far. I don't really have a knack for making cool ship designs, but some of the people out there some of their ship designs are absolutely incredible. So getting those wrapped up into ship packages so that people can just import the whole thing is amazing. This is Galciv this Thursday when we released is just the start of a long time that we're going to spend with this game and building on this solid foundation. So we're excited for it.
Absolutely. People asking for more modding streams actually in the chat here. There is a modding forum that we opened up on forums.galciv3.com, which is really going to be the place to go. The hardcore modders will be hanging out there. They'll help you out. Derek, I'm sure, will have a presence in that forum because he's always very pro modder. So that's probably going to be your best bet. You can always come onto the streams on Fridays and ask and whatever, but that would be where I would point people towards.
It'd be really nice too to just kind of feature big mods here on the stream so people can see it and catch it, and a mod of the week kind of thing.
We should totally do that. That's an excellent idea. I also want to give a shout out a little bit to people who anybody who does their own streaming. I'm totally open to, if you run a good stream, to hosting you on the Stardock channel, giving you a little shout out on social media, get you some viewers, get you some followers. That's always fun. I will have to watch your stream, or Spencer will have to watch your stream and make sure that it's the kind of thing that we can have on our relatively PG-13 channel, and that kind of thing.
I think that one ship that we saw earlier may have spoiled that.
Oh man! In the PC Games End review of Galactic Civilizations III,
that's right.
There is a horrendously inappropriate ship. It's exactly what you think it is, but it's all good. It's not animated. At one point, I saw an animated ship that was like, "Yep." We'll leave it at that. Anyway, all right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming. We're gonna cut the stream, go back to the rest of our real jobs. We'll put it that way. But we'll be back on Friday. We're gonna have Sorcerer King will be back on Wednesday, so you can welcome Scott and I back, and we can make some fun of Scott for being bad at the game, which is the traditional Wednesday afternoon activity, which is unfair because I ask him questions and I distract him, and it's all good. And then Thursday, as always, Mohawk streams Off-World Trading Company at 10 a.m. Pacific. Excuse me, 10 a.m. Eastern, which is 7 a.m. Pacific. So you can check out Off-World Trading Company, Economic RTS from Soren Johnson then, and then Galciv will be back on Friday. Thanks, everybody. Launch week has been super successful and super fun, and you've been a huge part of it. So take it easy.
Thank you.